Melbourne Ports.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Speaker and the member for Fadden. This resolution does mention the 70th anniversary of a very exciting, vital, happy nation of 8 million people, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on the main point of the member for Fadden's resolution. That is the sharp contrast with what nearly happened during the Second World War. This was synthesised in a sinister speech delivered at the Berlin Sportspalast on the 30th of January 1939 by Adolf Hitler. It was a repudiation, an attempted repudiation of President Roosevelt's attempt to deal with aggression throughout the world and to seek some assurances from the German Chancellor. I want to particularly thank the member for Fadden for his thoughtful taking up of the member for Isaac's raising of the issue of the 80th anniversary of the fateful Evian conference convened by President Roosevelt in 1938 at Evian-les-Bains in France with 31 other countries to discuss the plight of refugees fleeing the horror of Nazism. It's an anniversary the member for Fadden has given us an opportunity to atone for because, unfortunately, the representative of Australia at the conference, Lieutenant Colonel T.W. White, brought a message of indifference to that conference. He didn't go on his own authority, he spoke with that of the executive government of the day, but Australia said it didn't have a racial problem and didn't seek to import one, a grotesque message given the sinister events of the time. I want to also commend the member for Eden Monero, my good friend, former Brigadier Mike Kelly, who recounted little-known connections that are amazing in his speech between the Jewish people of Palestine who was trying to survive the Second World War and connections in the First World War, including with his extraordinary family. Amazing stories that I didn't know, that David Ben-Gurion, the first Labor Prime Minister of Israel, served under the Australians in the First World War, and that Moshe Dayan lost his eye with the Australian Machine Gun Battalion spotting for the 7th Division as a forward artillery observer in Lebanon in the Second World War. Let me, however, focus on the fact that Fadden has organised for this resolution, supported by all sides of the Australian Parliament, to be presented to the Israeli Museum Yad Vashem, which is famous throughout the world. It's a memorial museum to the murdered millions of the Second World War, and the idea of this resolution was to be presented as a bipartisan, non-partisan repudiation to our colleagues in the Israeli Knesset, and to be placed right next to Colonel White's infamous declaration, "We don't have a racial problem and we don't seek to import one," as a repudiation by modern-day Australians of that terrible indifference. Speaker, I think nothing could be more thoughtful than this, and I commend all of the members, the many members who spoke on it in the debate earlier today in the House. On the weekend, Deputy Speaker, I had the joy of celebrating my niece's wedding in Byron Bay, to Gil Baker, who was the grandson of Yossel Baker. I danced with Yossel Baker, the patriarch of that shattered Baker family who came to Australia after the Second World War. The Baker family is united now with the equally small Dunsiger family from which I came. My father was one of the refugees who luckily made it into Australia. Australia's rhetoric prior to the Second World War was a lot worse than its actual actions, and 8,000 refugees from Germany were actually accepted into this wonderful country. Our two families who've survived, indeed flowered in this extraordinary country, are a repudiation of the indifference of Lieutenant Colonel White. This very Parliament, where my late uncle's firm is responsible for all of the woodwork all around us, all the floors, all the parquetry, everything, was because he was sent to Schleswig-Holstein by his parents, trying to get him out of Germany to Australia to learn, and he had to have carpentry. All I can say is, Deputy Speaker, is in response to this resolution, Am Yisrael Chai.
I thank the member for